and welcome to How to Deal When the Shit Gets Real podcast. I'm Rietta.
And I'm Connie, and today we're here with Paige Tonz. So, Paige, tell us, how do you deal when shit gets real, or just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I feel like the shit really did get real recently with having our first baby, but that's not exactly what I showed up to talk about, but we can intermix.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, we will.
Yeah. So the reason that I was interested in coming on and sharing is because as an entrepreneur, shit does get super real. Mm-hmm. And that transition from going from a 9-to-5 job to going out and pursuing the thing that you're super passionate about, but also knowing that weekly paycheck or biweekly paycheck or whatever is not coming in was very, very scary. And to make that leap of faith was super hard. And I feel like I actually didn't get to totally make that choice. I was on my way, but then me and my boss kind of ended up butting some heads, and I got kicked out early. So it wasn't.
Oh man!
Wait, what happened? What was the butting heads? Come on, tell us a little bit. Tell us what you can, because I know that corporate, you can't really.
Yeah, and it's funny because we're not corporate. I wasn't corporate. I worked for a small real estate team, and I absolutely love them and adore them, and everything is great at this point. But it was mostly because I was growing and changing and shifting, and I just really kind of grew out of the role I was in. And my boss had a certain direction that he wanted to go, and we just weren't seeing eye to eye on that anymore. And I was getting to be more passionate about the things that I wanted to do. And it was my side gig of what I do now. And it just didn't work out anymore. So that's really
man, I was hoping for some spicy, brawls at the office.
The last day that I was there was pretty rough because I had been there for 3 years, and with a small group, it kind of feels like your extended family. And I remember being so sad and all the tears, but also so much relief. It was a very conflicting day for sure. And I just remember waking up the next morning and being okay, well, guess I'm going to work on my business now instead. It was the strangest yet most exciting thing ever. So that was one of a huge, I don't want to say mess, but it was just a lot of ups and downs, looking back at it now. So
I feel like that's when you made the right decision, when you're feeling torn, it's the right decision because you're happy. It's that bittersweet moment.
Yes, totally bittersweet. But yeah, so even after that, I was oh, maybe I need to get this part-time virtual assistant job as I continue to grow. But then my coach was no, you're doing great. Just keep going. And I never ended up being a virtual assistant. I just kept going, and I kept being able to pay my bills, and things were fine. And I just kept waking up and kept going. And all of a sudden I was oh, I guess I'm a full-time business owner. Cool. This is amazing. Of course it always comes with, doubt and fear and all the things, which is kind of my wheelhouse, because that's what I do with girl athletes. I mentor girl athletes on the mental side of the game, and building confidence. And I'm which is what I tell them all the time. I go through this stuff too. We all go through it, even at 30 years old. We still have fear and doubts and negative thoughts. If you just I feel I have tools and resources and people to help me through those things so that I can show up and be the best version of myself, and to have success and confidence and all of that amazing stuff.
So what are some of the tools that you bring to these young girl athletes?
Yeah. So some of the practical tools would be visualization. So kind of like meditation or like just working on their positive self-talk, like being kinder to themselves, giving themselves more grace, knowing who they are, no matter what the results or outcomes are. And then like, even just like something as simple as breathing. Like one of like, a lot of times, like the girls when yesterday I was asking them, what tool are they really consistent with? They're like breathing. It's so helpful. I love it. Like it helps me like reset and like calm down. And it sounds so silly when I'm like, I have a new group of girls. I'm like, okay, we're going to learn how to breathe. And they're like, okay, like it's so cool.
Like,
but I'm
right,
like,
sure.
so helpful.
I thought the same thing. My therapist gave it to me because I was in therapy for a long time. And she was like, the same thing. She's like, when you have anxiety, I want you to breathe. And I'm like, I wasn't breathing before. I'm super
I know, right? Like we breathe to live.
And she's like, no, listen to me. You're going to breathe and you're going to count. And I'm like, okay. And it's amazing how helpful it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm like, we're going to be intentional with our breathing. It's going to have a purpose.
It would be helpful anyway, because when you're doing any type of activity or sport, most of the time, if you're breathing the right way, that helps do X, Y, and Z, like especially for yoga is the one thing that really popped in my mind.
Right. And like, I think of what the other thing too is like powerlifting, like it, like the way that they breathe is very intentional so that they can lift more or go longer or whatever it might be. So like, I always think of powerlifters and breathing.
It's all right. I went to yoga. You went to powerlifting. There's always you can pick probably any sport where breathing would help.
Totally.
Oh, absolutely. So talk to us about what made you fall in love with sports, taking us back. What made you fall in love with sports and particularly softball?
Yeah. It's funny when I talk about softball because I feel like softball and baseball they're definitely a mental game for sure, especially when it comes to hitting, or because they always say like baseball and softball is a game of failure. And I'm like, why did I, like, now that I'm like old, I'm like, why did I pick the game of failure? Like, what? I should have like picked volleyball. It seemed a lot more like happy endings there. But
I'm pretty sure my dad told me the same thing too, because I never played like on a collegiate level like you did, but I played softball for like 10 years. And I remember having the same conversation with my dad. He's like, you got to get used to just shit going wrong. And I'm like, okay.
Hence the podcast, right?
Yep.
So I think I fell in love with it because it was a challenge. And I think definitely it's when you're younger, you're more like, I want the challenge. And as we get older, like if we are not really working on our mindset or like our growth mindset, we tend to shy away from challenging things. So I think as when I was younger, I was like, give me all the challenges, and I'm super competitive. So I was like, I'm going to work really hard to be good at this. So I really fell in love with the game. I played a lot of different sports, but ended up just playing softball the most. And maybe it was because I was more skilled at it. I don't even really remember, to be honest, but I think because it was challenging and I enjoyed it. And just the aspect of like, you had like you kind of like had the spotlight when you are hitting, but it was also a team sport as well. I think I loved all of the elements around that. I also played a lot of volleyball, which is why I use the volleyball example. Played volleyball all through high school as well, which was a really great combo. It was a really great, like, go play volleyball, have fun with your friends, even though it was still competitive, but it wasn't like life or death. It felt like.
So how did you get past the feeling of failure and your need to win mentality?
Oh man. Well, it's funny because I'm actually launching my program right now, and I literally just reached out to my coach and I'm like, okay, this is like my last day of the launch. I'm feeling all the feels, but I'm telling myself like everything's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna work out the way it should. And so it's like, did I really get past the fear of failure? But like we were saying earlier, you just have things that you do to work through those thoughts and those feelings, like reaching out to my coach. So my first 3 years of college, so my freshman, sophomore, junior year, when I was playing softball, I was so hard on myself, and I And even before that, I was hard on myself, and I had this fear of making mistakes. I wanted to make my dad proud, and I wanted to like make myself proud. I had really high expectations for myself. So I really struggled my first 3 years of college, especially on the hitting side of things, because I was not meeting my expectations. And I would like go into my first at bat. I ended up getting the starting position as a catcher. So I was making the hitting lineup, but I would go into my first at bat knowing that if I didn't get a hit, I was not going to stay in the hitting lineup, which was really just setting myself up for a whole lot of mental
talk
failure.
about pressure.
Yeah, putting so much pressure on myself, and it didn't work. We'll just put it that way. I did not hit well in my first 3 years. Like my average was really low. I didn't like continue to get as many at bats as I would like, even though I was starting as on defense. But it was that my senior year when it came around, it was like this mental shift that happened that I didn't really know was happening, but it was like, okay, I have a year left to play this game that I've played for so long and put so much energy and time in. And I was just like, I am so tired of being frustrated with myself. So I'm going to go out there and do my best, which I was already doing. I'm going to have fun doing it. Like I'm going to have as much fun as I can this year. And whatever happens, happens. Like, I'm like, can it really get worse? Like, I'm just going to go out there and just have fun, do it. And whatever the outcomes are, so be it. And all of a sudden, like this relief, this weight off my shoulders was happening. And I started hitting better and playing better. And I doubled my batting average and tripled the amount of at-bats that I got, and had way more fun my last year. And just had so much more success. And I really truly believe it was because I was just approaching it differently. I was thinking differently, even though I had no training on that, of how to like really think differently. I had seen some sports psychologists from time to time, but it was more like a Band-Aid thing where I would go when things were like really terrible. But I should have been going and seeing that sports psychologist like every single week to be proactive and really work on my mind, which is something I would definitely do differently going back. But that is really how I got past that, and just really now consistently working on my mindset and working on my thoughts through my thoughts, even if it's with launching a program. So that's really how I got past that and decided, man, these girls that come after me really need to know this stuff, because it was such a relief.
Yeah, I bet. I really want to know though, because I've always wanted to ask a catcher this. How are your knees?
My knees are actually great. I have to say I'm a very flexible person. Like my mobility is really great. So, and it's just like a natural thing. It's like not something I have to work on very hard. So I think that's very helpful with my knees. And I've just, continue to take care of my body as best as I can. So I feel like my knees are appreciating that.
I just had to know, because I always remember thinking please don't ever put me at catcher, because my knees hurt just looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, ask me when I'm 70 or 80, there might be some more difficulties. But yeah, you'd be surprised. My knees are actually really great. It's
my knees crunch, so and I have not played any softball.
It's funny, this is how I like to sit. I'm always got my knees up or one knee up. So I don't know, maybe I'm just weird.
Nah, you're just more flexible than me. I need to stretch more.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's what it is. All right. So what have been, since you've learned all that, now you're incorporating it, which is awesome. And I think it's great. I mean, we're seeing a lot of change right now with our generation versus the new generation that's up and coming. I mean, this Victoria's Secret song came out. There's all these documentaries, bodies look different. People look different. ESPN is doing the body issue, which I think is fucking fabulous, because we see all these different bodies that even people that play sports don't look the same. So right. You get past all that. So what has been some of your best moments that you've passed on to your girls?
I think that like one of the things I just always want them to know is that no matter what happens out on the field or court or swimming pool, like I have all different girls, different athletes, like no matter what happens, it doesn't define who they are. And I know that's really hard to like wrap your brain around when you're in the moment, but when we're like on our calls and we're like talking about it and working through their thoughts, it helps them realize that it really doesn't define them. And like they're still who they are. They still have opportunities to like build who they are and show up the way they want to be. So that's something I really want them to know, because I feel like I wrapped like all of my identity around that. And if I didn't, have success in some area or some way athletically, then I wasn't like good enough as a person either. So that's something I really want them to take away and understand, and just to like go have fun. I know like we all play sports in the beginning because it's fun, and we kind of lose sight of that as it gets more competitive. But when we're having fun, we typically do better. And when we're having a lot of fun with it and it's playful and energetic, we just perform better. We're relaxed, and we just get to go like do our thing instead of put all this pressure and worry and doubt on ourselves. So those are two things. So I had two.
I like it. 2 things is good.
So what would you say is the biggest influence on women's self-esteem or the lack thereof?
I mean, social media for sure. Right.
Yeah.
What do your girls struggle with the most? Just curious.
Yeah.
Probably social media.
So off of like social media, but like when they talk about it, they're not necessarily like, oh, it's social media. It's more like they compare themselves to their teammates or other girls. Like it's this like constant comparison.
Yeah.
So I
We're
think
bad at that.
that really, yeah, I think that really creates like this lack of confidence, or the limiting beliefs that they can be like that girl. Like I don't know if anyone here watches softball on TV, but Oklahoma is like the powerhouse right now, and they won the last World Series, and they were just like incredible. Like they kind of like blew out everybody else, to be honest. And like every single girl on that team hitting is incredible. Like they have like all of the best. If you could like look at every team and like their number 4 hitter, like their power hitter, like they have all of those girls all the way down the lineup. So they just like have broken records, and they just hit for incredible power. And I'm just like sitting here thinking like, well, if they can do it, so can other people. Like, It's not like this, like, I mean, yes, obviously they're probably very skilled and talented in things, but they also work really hard, and they probably have a certain mindset going into those games and things. And I'm like, if they can do it, other girls can too. If they can do it, I could have done it. Like, I wish that I would have thought like that and thought with more possibility, rather than being like, oh, well, that's amazing. I'll never be a hitter like that. Like, that's just crazy. Right?
We hold ourselves back.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
We like completely limit ourselves to unknown potential. And like, it's actually something I worked on recently, is like, what are the possibilities? And like, without trying to figure out how to get there, or the steps, or the taking action, which is like our overthinking brain, or like type A, whatever you want to call it. And then just like opening up, like what is possible, and looking at like all the different possibilities. So that's something that I feel like these girls struggle with, is they limit their possibilities and their potential. But then I'm like, but look, it is possible, right? Yeah, it might take some hard work. Yes, it might take like thinking differently, but it is 100% possible. Like, they just did it. So
Yeah. I mean, they told Tiger Woods he'd never walk again, and he played at the Masters again. And yeah, he didn't do the greatest, but he did it.
yeah, and he did it. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Comparison is the thief of joy. I mean, that's a saying for a reason. I mean, but
Right.
we are so bad about doing it.
I mean, I do it all.
Especially women.
Yeah, I do it all the time. And with the social media, like I'll be scrolling. You know, it's so weird. Like I was just actually having a conversation with somebody about this. We get on social media to kind of like get away from reality, or we take a break. But really, it's like you're like, oh man, like she's doing that. Dang it, like oh, like that's so much better than mine, or like it's crazy. Like,
and I think
crazy.
I think it's even worse when you, like myself, are a new mom. Like I feel like I look at social media for new moms, and especially breastfeeding. Like it kills me on the inside because I only made 2 ounces. That was it. My lactation specialist gave up on me, and within 2 weeks, it was pretty much hell. And they were like, there's nothing we can do for you. Have a nice life. And then he needs 5 ounces, and I'm barely making 2 ounces a day. And then everybody else on like Instagram or whatever is like, I'm a cow. And I was like, really? Or the new one is like, look at what breastfeeding did to my baby. And I'm like, guess what? Formula is doing the same thing for mine. I think we would all be in trouble if our babies weren't growing.
Right.
Whether it's breastfeeding or formula.
Totally.
Exactly. So how has the transition been from you going from an athlete to a wife to a mom?
Crazy.
And then you combine all of those things because you're never just one of those. Now you're all 3.
Yes. Yeah. And it all happened very fast. I became a wife in October and then got pregnant, and now here I am, a mom, a wife, an entrepreneur, all the things. So I always say like I'm trying to like have a positive outlook on it all the time, and I'm like, we'll just call it a steep learning curve.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm prepared for the second one, you know? Because I've learned so much.
Steep learning curve. Honestly, I think the scheduling, like figuring out between my husband's schedule, my schedule, and getting because we don't have like official like daycare or anything. We have grandma, grandpas that come hang out, which I'm super grateful for. But it's hard. It's like, holy crap! Like now I got to figure out who's coming over, who's watching him when, and when people can schedule calls with me, when they can't. Woo! Like my brain was like about to implode a couple of weeks ago, but I feel like we're getting into a little bit of a system or routine, so that's good.
I feel you. I don't know what I'm gonna do when I go back to work. I'm like, okay, we're gonna do this. At least I don't have to deal with phone calls. That's the one thing I say to Rhiannon. I'm like, let's get as much done as we can while I'm on maternity leave. And so then when I'm working, I don't have work and podcast and all of the things, and at least my work does not involve phone calls.
I was much like you, Paige. I got married in June, found out I was pregnant in like September, and my husband deployed in October. And then he came back and I had a baby. So it was like, holy crap, we just did a whole bunch of stuff in 1 year.
All the time. Yeah. And like, again, like it goes back to like, you have like these doubts and these fears. And like, I kind of like hate to admit this, but it's just the honest truth. Like those first 2 weeks when your hormones are like all over the place.
Oh,
I was
God,
like,
it's hell.
I was thinking like, what did I do? Like,
oh my God, I know.
Can I do this? Like, am I going to be able to handle all of this? And
oh yeah, Tom would make a joke and I would bawl.
Yeah.
And he would be like, he'd like look at me like he's afraid. And he'd like come up to me and be like, it's okay.
Yeah.
I was joking. I swear.
Totally.
I love you.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I know. So there's lots of those thoughts of being like, can I run a really successful business? And take care of them and be present and be a great mom. I mean, I think that's what every mother starts to think, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're working a regular job or like normal hours or away from home or whatever it might be. I mean, I even just went out of town for this weekend because one of my best friends is getting married, and that was like challenging. It's like, I mean, I can't imagine the women moms that have to go travel all the time.
Oh God, yeah.
They're amazing. Like it would be challenging. We'll just put it that way. So yes, steep learning curve, like in the thick of it, all of the things, but it's definitely, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm like, I just have to remember, like, it's just making me better. It's just helping me grow into a different person. And like, I have to remember that, like, I'm not who I was 3 months ago. Like I'm different now and for the best. So.
And it's not as easy either. You know what I mean? It's not as easy to just leave your house. You can't just go somewhere. It's then now a production.
Yeah.
You can't just go get coffee. You now have to do everything and make the production to go get coffee.
Right. I was like, oh, I need like a few things from the grocery store. And I was like, yep, forget that. I'm not going for a few things. If I'm going to go, I'm going for all.
Yes. Going for it all. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like, I'm not going to get him out, go into the grocery store, get him back in, make an extra stop, and then have to feed like in the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, and the timing in general. Like, and now when do I have to feed him and change him, and when does he need a nap? And let me just calculate that.
Right? So much time calculation going on.
I cannot wait for like naps to like start to consolidate. I'm like, all these naps, I'm like, this sucks. Like, you're awake for 5 minutes.
Yes. I know, it's craziness, but it's been, steep learning curve. That's my short answer.
It's a steep learning curve, but it's also an awesome ride. But also I then sometimes think, can we go back to the labor part? That was way easier for me.
I'm over here like, no.
Well, I was only in active labor for like an hour. So I was like, can we go back? That was super easy. I was cracking jokes with my midwife. We were having a great time because only I could crack jokes while giving birth. So
yeah, that's amazing. I wish I had that story.
I'm sorry. Actually, we talked to a woman who had like an absolute horrible birth, and now she like kind of coaches. Would you call it like coaching, Rietta, or at least getting her story out there?
Yeah, she's at least sharing her story. She's also she's overseas, so it's a little different. But yeah, she's just trying to get her story out there that, we have more choices than are necessarily provided to us. But it was also a little different for her because she was it Australia or New Zealand, or she's somewhere in the, I think it's overseas. Yeah. But yeah.
And they took her labor, you know how they have like the labor forms of this is what you want from your delivery, and she put that she wanted a natural birth. Well, they really took it to heart, and it was not good.
Boy, yeah. It's been very interesting hearing everybody's different stories and labor stories. Like it's literally
it's so different.
Really different.
Yeah. Everybody is so different.
Yeah, because my friend, she just had her baby girl, and she was induced just like me, and then instead she ended up with a C-section. Like, it all can go a different way.
Yeah, totally.
So we're pretty sure we probably know the answer to this, but what is your favorite sport to coach?
Well, considering my expertise is in softball, it probably is softball, but
what's your runner-up then?
It's gonna sound really funny, and I don't even know if that's really answering the question, but we started playing pickleball. Yeah, our CrossFit gym put on a tournament, and I partnered with my husband, so I probably tried to coach him, but I probably didn't go as well as either of us would have liked. But
I love it.
It was really fun, real competitive. I probably could have taken it down a notch.
That reminds me of that Friends episode where, like, I don't know if you were a Friends fan, where Monica's like trying to get Chandler to play. They're playing like ping pong and she's super hardcore about it. Yeah, that was what I was picturing in my head when you were talking about you and your husband.
Yes, I totally know what you're talking about. Yep, that's pretty much how. They just opened up, like, sign up for another like round of a tournament. This was like a while back ago, like a year or so, when they had the last one. And I'm gonna be like, so do you still want to play with me?
And you're like, no.
Right? He's gonna be like, yeah, we know how that ended last time. Oh, funny.
So what would be one thing you would want every young girl to know and remember?
I think it goes back to that like, just go out there and like be yourself and do your thing, because when you keep it more simple like that, you're going to have more success, you're going to be more confident, you're going to feel better at the end of each day. So I would say that's something I want all of the young, like every young girl to know, is when you do that, just like, it just makes everything so much better than when we like overcomplicate it.
I like it. It's such a simple thing, but it's something that we all forget to do, because like we talked about, we put that pressure on ourselves all the time for no reason.
Yeah. You know,
So
like trusting the process.
Yes.
you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what movie that was from, but it's fine.
I can't remember either now.
It's okay. I think it was an Adam Sandler movie, I want to say, but
Probably. That sounds
there's
about right.
There's a lot of those.
Yeah.
So you're also a fireman's wife, and my dad actually is a fireman. And so I kind of know how like hectic that can be. So what has been some of your biggest challenges, especially with like the new baby, your coaching job, and him being like a fireman?
Totally. So what's funny is, at first, I don't know if I would consider it very challenging. I mean, that's got its ups and downs. So it's funny because at first, when I was dating him, I started to notice that it's like a crazy schedule, but it's a flexible schedule. So like, he was going to the lake during the week and going on the boat, and I was at my desk at my office job,
and you're like, rude.
Yeah, I'm getting pictures of them having fun and like stuff. Like, I want to do that. And so it actually really motivated me and pushed me to want to own my own business and be able to create my own schedule. So it was a really great thing. And I also saw, I started to see other families with firefighters and stuff where they had more time, a little bit more time freedom, and they got to be like home with their kids and all of that. And I was like, like, that's something I really want in my future. And to be able to have a whole day off if I needed to and move things around and all of that. So it really pushed me to actually make that leap. And ever since, like, that's been like so nice, because we also love to travel, and that allowed us to do a lot more traveling without having to ask anybody to leave, which is nice.
You're like, I'm never missing another lake day either. I'm on the lake.
Right? Yes.
I'll be there.
It's really, I always thought it was interesting because like even my, the real estate team that I worked for was like unlimited vacation, and I feel like a lot of companies kind of have that policy now, but it's kind of like this double-edged sword. Like,
it's like, you can take time, but you're going to have twice the amount of work.
Or you just like have that, they feel that guilt. And I feel like it actually kind of nipped me in the butt at the end, but because I did take advantage of it, I was like, yeah, okay, well, I'm going to take time and go travel and do things that I want to do. So, I don't know where I was at with that. Oh, but so the fire schedule, but yeah, just like we kind of talked about, it's been a little nutty,
a little learning curve.
Yeah. The steep learning curve of trying to figure out, okay, you're going to be home here. And then I started to realize, wow, mom does really take precedent, especially when you're feeding your baby. So it makes things a little different when I'm the main source over here. So, but I'm like, wait a second. Anyway, give my schedule. I've got mom, I've got grandpa coming over, and then I'm like scheduling my husband. He's amazing, by the way. So I'm not like throwing him under the bus. But I'm like, wait, all this other space is me. I'm like, all of this space outside of these chunks of me getting time to work is me. So that's interesting. But yeah, I mean, it definitely comes with its challenges. Like, he works at a busy station. So when he does come home, he's tired and like he has to kind of catch up on his sleep. And then I'm like, I'm also not sleeping as much anymore. So it's like we're both a little tired. So then it comes with those struggles and challenges, but it also comes with so many good things where, he's home all day today where he can spend time with his son. And even though he was gone the last couple of days. So yeah.
And you get to spend time with us.
Yes, that is what's happening right now. He's out there with him and I'm doing my thing. So it is super convenient because that's the whole reason we're not having to like hire anybody to watch him quite yet. I mean, that could change. We might need something where like we just need a little bit more routine in our life. But yeah, I mean, I get like he's with family or at the gym, kids care or whatever right now. So that's really nice.
Well, and as they get older, there's more like programs and stuff you can do, I feel like always that's going to make it a little bit easier for me at least. Yeah. I'm like, oh, when can I get him into like a kid's activity? 3? Damn it. There's no 1-year-old. What the hell?
Totally. I know it's like it's so hard. It's like you want them to stay small and little, and adorable, but you're also really excited for like the development, I guess. Like, oh my gosh, like wait till he can like really laugh. He's like almost started to giggle. And like you're always like wanting the next thing, but also wanting to stay like, don't get bigger. Like when people talked about him getting bigger, like day to day in the first couple of weeks, I was like, stop talking about it. I will cry. Like,
oh, I know.
Like, don't talk about it around me.
So my little man is like giggling and smiling and he rolls over and I'm like, stop it. It's so cute.
I know.
But then I told her the other day, I'm like, just wait until he's 10. And she's like, no.
I know. You're like, stop it. Don't tell me.
Oh my God. No. What's actually even worse is my mom. So he was born. I'm going to be turning 30. My mom's turned 60, right? And my mom's like, just wait. Soon he'll turn 30. You'll be 60 and I'll be 90. And I'm like, stop. That's a horrible sentence. What did you just say to me?
Yeah.
That's like, oh God.
Yeah.
No, I cannot think of my little son, who is barely 3 months old, as a 30-year-old man.
I know. Crazy.
Oh God.
So crazy.
I love it. Time goes by too fast. I feel like yesterday my guy was little and he's 10. So be ready.
I know.
Live in the moment, Paige. Just keep
thinking. I know, right? Stay present.
So any final thoughts you want to leave with our listeners? And of course, any way for our young girl listeners to get in touch with you if they need a fabulous coach?
Yeah, I mean, I think that like just to kind of stay on topic with the title of your podcast, like how to deal when the shit gets real. I just feel like that's kind of like my life. Like that's what I coach on is when like shit hits the fan, when we run into struggles and we run into obstacles, challenges, all the failure, all the things, like it's okay. Like those, like it's always that's like life. That's like why and how we improve and how we grow and how we get better. And it's just truly how we look at it and how we sort through it and shift our thoughts, because even though oftentimes it feels like our thoughts and our feelings are in control of us. It is the opposite, and we get to choose like which thoughts and how we want to react and respond and how to deal when the shit gets real. So I feel like that's kind of like, I mean, that's really like my life. I mean, isn't it everybody's life, I guess?
That's
why we're here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, so how did you deal?
Yeah.
Because everybody does it a little differently.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel like that is, I mean, that's what I help girls do, is I help them deal with crap, and so that they can show up and be successful and live the lives that they want to. So I think that's kind of like the parting message. But for any like families that want mental training for their daughters who are playing sports, I know I kind of feel like, oh, I can only work with the athletes, which I do. It'd be kind of weird if you didn't play any sports and were in my program. You would probably be like, I don't feel like this is the right place. I have a place for those girls too. So if you need a referral, let me know. I have some amazing friends that work with girls, called Girls Mentorship. But if you do have an athlete who wants to you want them to work on their mindset and like just be more aware of how to deal when the shit gets real, then you can go find me at paigetonz.com. I do weekly mindset lessons, and I call them lessons because as athletes, we go to a lot of lessons and practices and things like that. And we're practicing the physical game, but we're not really practicing that mental part of the game normally. So I've wanted to create a space where we can really work on our mindset on a consistent basis, on a weekly basis, and work through that stuff. So I have a different lesson, a different topic and theme every single week, and all surrounding building confidence. So that would probably be an amazing place to start and get plugged in.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming on our show. Not having us. So much for you're on our show.
Thank you for having me on your show.
Anytime. So this is how to deal when shit gets real. Our episodes are coming out bi-weekly, and in between those episodes are our bonus episodes. So don't forget to check all of that out, everybody. And don't forget to rate, review, and we'll see you guys next time.